What makes RPG mechanics great? Not just good, but really good. The kind that keep players invested for hours, agonizing over choices, theory crafting, and feeling like their character is truly growing? Is it deep stat systems, branching narratives, complex combat? I had a commenter on my Disco Elysium video say the game wasn't an RPG because it didn't have combat. Bro, come on. The real answer is simpler than you think. The secret to designing RPG mechanics that matter is coming up after the break. No, I'm just kidding. The secret is making every system feel like it has meaningful growth. I hate clickbait just as much as you, so there's the answer. But if you want to understand why, stick around to the end and you can see progress on that front in my own little indie project called Runes of the Abyss. Okay, so RPGs thrive on progression, but the best ones make sure that progression isn't just a number going up. It has to mean something. Every stat increase, every skill point, every choice has to feel like it changes how you play. John Sawyer, director of Pillars of Eternity, said, "The best RPG systems give players room to experiment while making them feel like their choices matter. If everything's just marginal improvements, it starts to feel meaningless." This begs the question, are games like Final Fantasy VIII or 16 really RPGs when they ultimately funnel a player down through a linear story beat without meaningful decisions? Fans of the series would argue yes, and to be fair, RPG is a very widely used term. It's up to you. Ever played an RPG where you level up but your character always feels exactly the same? That's what we don't want. I remember playing through Obsidian's space RPG, The Outer Worlds, and feeling like that. Although it's been years, the game might have changed considerably since I last played it, but I remember being promised deep RPG mechanics, but many players felt that stats and armor were ultimately meaningless. The game gave you plenty of choices, dialogue options, perks, skills. But no matter what you picked, the overall experience barely changed. Armor ratings didn't seem to impact combat in any meaningful way, and stat checks often led to slightly different lines of dialogue rather than major consequences. Compare that to something like Fallout New Vegas, where a high speech stat could let you bypass entire encounters, or where your reputation with factions changed the game world dynamically. The Outer Worlds had the appearance of an intricate RPG system, but in practice, it felt like a thin layer of stats pasted onto a linear experience. To be fair, while it's not officially confirmed that The Outer Worlds was given to Obsidian's B team, there are strong hints that it wasn't their primary focus. So, great RPGs don't just let you make choices. They make those choices count. Whether it's deciding a character's fate or choosing your next ability, the best RPGs ensure that every choice reinforces that feeling that this is my journey. This is called player agency, and it's one of the basic game design principles. I talk more about this in my game design principles video. I'll put a link in the description. Chris Avallone, writer of Fallout New Vegas, said, "If a player doesn't feel like their choices have real consequences, then the illusion of role-playing breaks down. The key is to always make them wonder, did I make the right call?" Be honest, how many of you Google the quote-unquote right choice to make in games like Avowed or Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, even though you know it's just a game and ultimately nothing real will happen? Combat in RPGs isn't just about winning fights, it's about evolution. If you're using the same strategy at the start and end of the game, that's a problem. Great RPGs introduce new abilities, mechanics, and challenges that force players to adapt. In games like Final Fantasy X, players don't just level up, they unlock new abilities on a massive interconnected sphere grid. But what really forces adaptation is the character swapping mechanic. Each enemy type is weak to a specific party member. Wakka is great against flying enemies, Auron sheds armored foes, and Lulu excels at magic damage. This system keeps battles dynamic, making players swap characters mid-fight instead of spamming the same attacks. And in a game like Divinity Original Sin 2, the game takes turn-based combat and layers it with environmental interactions. If you cast a water spell, you can electrify it to stun enemies. Poison clouds can be ignited, certain fights have puzzles baked into them, where brute force won't work alone. The game constantly introduces new challenges that require creative problem solving, keeping the experience fresh. In my game, Runes of the Abyss, I wanted every decision to feel like an important one. Runes of the Abyss is all about exploration and party synergy. You have to explore further into the dungeon to find more teammates, hopefully the ones you want for your little party build. But the deeper you go, the more you risk losing too much health or too many items during your run, and the next boss encounter might be too difficult. It's another basic game design principle called risk versus reward. And it all ties back into player agency. Players have to feel like their decisions matter. Even in the game's turn-based combat, this is something I focused on. Early enemies teach the basics, but by Act 3, if you don't learn to exploit synergies between classes and relics, you'll be in serious trouble. The game is like 85% done, by the way, and I'm looking forward to getting playtesters to try it to provide meaningful feedback. So if you want to be one of those early playtesters, join our Discord. I'll leave the link in the description as well. So the secret to great RPG mechanics? It all comes down to growth that feels real. Every number, every choice, every battle should change how you play, making you feel like you're not just progressing, but you're becoming something greater. That's what makes an RPG truly unforgettable. Well, that and a good story. Of course, don't forget to like the video because it really helps my channel grow. Subscribe if you want more intelligent game design content like this, and I'll see you in the next one.